Okay, in this video, I will be discussing what we had learned in the first math class based on the slides that Danielle had left and based on the readings that we had to complete after class as homework and how they relate to my personal experiences. So, in the beginning of class, we discussed four numbers. It looks like that we discussed four numbers and how they represent something about ourselves. So I chose 16 as the number of countries that I've been to. 1 as the number of siblings I have. I have one brother. 14 as the number of years I've played volleyball, my favorite sport. 3 as how many times I've seen my favorite band, Giant Rooks, in concert. And they are a German indie pop band. It's kind of random. And then, after introducing ourselves, it looks like we watched a video called The Remainder of One Story, which demonstrates inquiry by a little soldier trying to figure out how many rows of soldiers it will take to make an even number of lines of soldiers in the infantry, so that he can be included in this, and so that the queen will not be angry because she likes order. And this also made me think of how it's a perfect example of how we can use literature as a way to teach math, which was in the article Literacy in Mathematics that we had read, because it uses a story that's interesting for kids and very visual to help them acquire this idea of inquiry. And so I think that this inquiry lesson helps kids work out the solution for themselves. And I think that is important because then they can be more creative and help them with their problem-solving skills, which I think is, just after teaching for a few years in France, just teaching English, I found that kids' inquiry and curiosity and problem-solving skills, I feel, have changed so much just by experiencing putting up examples on the board and explicit directions and hoping the kids will figure out how to make their own example after using these clues that I have given them. And it turned out that maybe one or two would get the answer. And I think this is a cause of technology, because now kids are getting technology earlier and earlier, and then when they can just look up anything whenever they want and get a direct answer. I think kids are becoming impatient and losing that ability to problem solve. So that's why I think this book and this inquiry method is so important. This CGI method that we're learning. And so I hope I'm excited to learn more about this method and how we can promote this in our classrooms, because I'm not sure when I was growing up if I learned math like this, because I do remember just being told things and just told to remember them. But then again, I do have a bad memory, so maybe I was learning some things with this sort of inquiry method. And then we also, tied to inquiry, we learned about 3 different methods. So it was the direct modeling, counting strategies, and derived facts. So direct modeling is when you directly demonstrate the problem either using pictures or physical materials. So for example, if I was doing 5 plus 4, I could a direct modeling example would either having blocks or pens or something, 5 in my hand, and then I find 4 more, and I add them all together, and then that's how I find the answer. Or if you draw little pictures of 5 blocks and then 4 blocks and then add them up, it's also an example of direct modeling. And second, the counting strategy is when kids use their fingers or in their head to count to find the solution. So for example, 5 plus 4. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I found it. Or if kids do it in their head, counting strategy. And the third strategy is the derived fact, which is when kids use information that they already know, that they've already acquired, to find out the solution for a problem. So, for example, 5 plus 9. If a kid knows 5 plus 5 is 10, okay, minus 1 is 9. So that is an example. And when I was teaching English in France, I feel like for the most part, when they were teaching math, they had a very specific way of teaching. So they didn't really let kids use their creativity or try to figure out the solutions on their own, or the methods, I should say, on their own. And they really were like, okay, this is the method, you have to use it. Even if you got the right answer, you have to use this method. Except they also did use a lot of derived facts. For example, when adding plus 9, plus 19, or plus 29, the teacher would show, okay, 12 plus 9 is 12 plus 9, so to figure that out, you 12 plus 10 is what? 12 plus 10 is 22, and then minus 1, 21. So that's how they would do a lot of addition examples. And then I'll talk about the exit ticket as well. I chose the exit ticket that was, I have $12. If I spend $4 on lunch, how much money would I have left? And so we're supposed to explain direct modeling, counting strategies, and derived facts. So again, for direct modeling, I have 12 physical dollars, or draw 12 physical dollars, and then I take away $4. I have 8. For counting strategy, okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, take away 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 8. Counting strategy. And a derived fact would be if you split 12 into 10 and 2. So you do 10 minus 4 is 6, plus 2, 8. So this is a derived fact example. And then after class, we were asked to read chapter 1 of the Children's Mathematics and the article of language in mathematics classroom. And I was really interested about how language is related to mathematics, because it's never really something I had thought about. I had definitely personal experience with this struggle as I went to a Spanish immersion school, and when we were learning math all in Spanish until 6th grade, and then when I went to middle school, it was in English, and I was like, I'm not struggling with the math problems, but the language, I was like, what is this in English? I didn't learn it. And so that was kind of like, that 7th grade was definitely, I had a bit of a learning curve in math. And so it was interesting to read this article about how especially word problems can have different types of vocabulary. So like mathematical vocabulary, procedural vocabulary, and descriptive vocabulary. And as a teacher, it's important to think about all those different types of vocabulary and make sure, especially when you're teaching a different language, that the kids understand this. And as I kind of mentioned earlier, then it was also interesting, the interdisciplinary approach of using literature to help kids understand math subject. I think that is really a great tool to help kids, because they'll be interested in the literature. And also the literature will have lots of different types of vocabulary. that they can learn and apply in their real life or in the math life. And yeah, I think that's all I have for in conclusion. These are some ideas that I have seen in the readings and in the slides that I can connect to my personal experience. Thanks for listening.